These are difficult times for education. Students who had learned how to learn on their own, who had access to great technology, support from their parents and teachers, they could find their way around closed school doors. By students who used to be spoon-fed by their teachers, who did not have access to alternative learning opportunities and whose parents could not support them so well. They were left so badly behind. So it's only natural that our eyes at this moment are all focused on how to recover from the pandemic. But the future will always surprise us. Climate change is going to disrupt our lives a lot more than the pandemic. Artificial intelligence questions many of the fundamentals of education. Our education systems are doing well to educate second-class robots, people who are good at repeating what we told them. But what will make us human in this time of accelerations of artificial intelligence? How do we complement, not substitute, the artificial intelligence we've created in our computers? And there's so many more forces shaping the future of education. I know you're doing a lot in Colombia to recover from the academic learning losses in this time, and I find your efforts very, very impressive. But there's one area that we should not overlook, and that is the need for students to develop stronger social and emotional skills. And there are also academic benefits from doing this. Data from our latest assessment of social and emotional skills show that students who have stronger social and emotional skills are more likely also to obtain better school grades. Among 15-year-olds, you find a strong relationship between persistence and better grades in mathematics. When looking at this across jurisdictions and even after accounting for demographics and test scores, students indicating more trust also do better in mathematics. And the strongest predictor of better mathematics grades is curiosity. That emphasizes the importance of not just dedication, but also cultivating an intellectual curiosity. Of course, external forces like parents or teachers' expectations can drive persistence. But as the pandemic has shown us, you can't always rely on external forces. The intellectual curiosity of young people will be more and more important to drive their own success, particularly if you think that they need to become lifelong learners. Once they're out of school, they need to continue learning throughout their life. And the picture is similar actually when it comes to educational ambitions. Negatively to better grades are sociability, and I come back to this. And what you see here is not just true for mathematics. You can see a quite similar relationship with school grades in the arts. And as you would expect, curiosity is more of an asset here. That's the interesting side. But what is worrying is that 15-year-old students, and that's irrespective of their gender and social background, reported lower social and emotional skills than their 10-year-old counterparts. You see in every skill category here, the bars go down. The older the students become, the less strengths they have in social emotional skills. It's not entirely unexpected. You find a lot of references to in the literature to this. As students get older, through youth, there are difficult periods in adulthood. But then the question for policy in Colombia is, what can parents, what can schools, what can education systems do to support young people when they go through this more difficult time, to develop well into the adulthood? What is also important is when you look at this by gender, you see that the drop in social and emotional skills is much steeper for girls than for boys. You see the shaded downward bars for girls tend to be longer. Tolerance and assertiveness seem to be the only exceptions here. Before I showed you how skills change for boys and girls as they become older, here you see the difference in how boys and girls rate their strengths at the age of 10. When the bars go up, girls do better. When the bars go down, boys do better. And you see here, 10-year-old girls reported higher levels of skills related to task performance, like responsibility and achievement motivation. Now, you see those bars going up. They also reported higher levels of skills that are important in an interconnected world, like empathy, cooperation, tolerance. In contrast, boys exhibited higher emotional regulation skills, like, stress resistance, optimism, emotional control, as well as important social skills like assertiveness and energy. You can see those bars going down here. Isn't it interesting? Colombia has done really well when it comes to giving boys and girls equal opportunity in mathematics and science. Differences are no longer so pronounced there. But you look at social emotional skills, they're still an important picture. And when you look at the picture for 15-year-olds, you see that marked here with the shaded patterns. The difference becomes even more pronounced. I want to have a more detailed look with you at some of the social emotional skills that are particularly important for the future. Creativity and curiosity. These are two skills many people talk about these days as so important for innovation and progress. First of all, our survey shows that students who think of themselves as highly creative tend to also report good levels of other social emotional skills, including, intellectual curiosity and persistence, two skills that, play an important role in creative achievements now, big and small. So creativity and curiosity are deeply embedded in other social emotional skills. Now, I had already mentioned that students' creativity and curiosity were lower among 15-year-olds than among 10-year-olds. And you can see that is also clearly visible in two of the Colombian cities participating here, Bogota and Manizales. Well, there could be many reasons for this. Maybe 15-year-olds are more aware of themselves and understand maybe I'm not so creative as I originally thought. But it could also be that our education systems drive out some of that curiosity and creativity that children are born with. If you have a 3-year-old son or daughter, they'll be amazingly creative. They're going to question everything you say to them. They're going to experiment with anything that comes into their way. And they're not only able to learn, they're also able and willing to unlearn and relearn when the context changes. As students become older, we try to sort of make them more compliant with our ways of thinking. So they may be losing some of that energy that is so important for the future. And once again, you can see Bogota and Manizales are no exceptions to this. Now, interestingly, when we asked the parents, they actually confirmed that trend. And even the teachers. So this is not just something that is in the perception of students. That is something that is real, and we need to worry about that. And when you look at activities that we can often, relate to curiosity and creativity, like sports, you see that they tend to be more prevalent among 10-year-olds here on the left side than among 15-year-olds here on the right side. And the picture is quite similar for the arts. So some of those activities that might help us most to develop curiosity and creativity, they become less prominent as students get older, because school makes them very, very busy with other things. Why is this important? Well, you can see that students who participate in, art activities show higher level of creativity here on the left side and curiosity on the right side. And that's quite consistent across jurisdictions. Again, Bogota, Manizales are no exceptions to this pattern. And, slightly less pronounced, but also clearly visible, also sports relates to, better creativity and curiosity. So you might think, sports and the arts and other, social activities take time away from things like mathematics and science, but you can see maybe they add something to our learning in other fields in the schooling now. Let me conclude with a brief look at social relations in school. Our survey shows that students' sense of fitting in at school and also student-teacher relations are consistently and positively related to social emotional skills. the school climate, the environment that students find themselves in. You can see here that students who feel they belong at school, it's the place where they make friends, where they feel at home, where they feel a supportive environment, they show higher social emotional skills. And that's true across all skill categories. You can see right across the board. So actually investing in a positive school climate where students feel they belong may be a good investment in the social emotional skills of young people. And this is another important dimension. Students who get along well with their teachers, they also report better social and emotional skills, and particularly greater curiosity, optimism, achievement motivation. So as a teacher, it's not just important, what you know about the subject that you teach and what you know about how different students learn that subject. But it seems also to be very important what you know about your individual students and how you support them in their social and emotional needs, how your students feel that teachers support them. And, I want to sort of put one picture into this that I know is very much debated in Colombia, and that's the anxiety of students with tests. And you can see across education systems, particularly, among girls that are more worried about anxiety tend to be less satisfied with their lives, show lower levels of well-being. For boys, the picture, the relationship is similar, but it's not so pronounced. Boys are generally more optimistic, less worried, less anxious, and so on. But you can see there is a relationship across systems. Fortunately, as you can see in Bogota and Manizales, actually, students generally feel well with their lives. That is, I think, a great strength of your society, of your system. But you can see the relationship with anxiety is there. So once again, what can education systems do about it in tomorrow's world? The answer is not actually in lowering expectations, and I want to be very clear about this. Some people say if our students are anxious, we should lower expectations. We should make our school systems less competitive. Actually, our data show quite the opposite. You can see actually here, for example, a competitive school climate, high expectations from parents, high expectations from teachers. Those are actually very strong predictors for the psychological well-being of students. Of course, some of them are also predictors for anxiety, and I think it's a question of finding the right balance. But it shows you how much of a difference schools can make to this. So, what I want to show you is that it's important for education systems to strive not just for strong academic outcomes, but for a holistic development of their students. And that includes a lot more than the development of academic skills, where Colombia is making tremendous efforts. It recognizes the importance of social emotional skills and students' well-being and social relations in the school environment. When students perceive that they are treated in a fair way, when the school and its staff help students develop a strong sense of belonging, and when they provide for a disciplined, structured, and cooperative environments, when the environment is supportive, less punitive, that's when students' social emotional skills develop better. And those skills are so important for our future. Thank you very much.